Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers, a great show on tap for you again from the legislature in the legislative cafeteria this morning, a very important place in the Capitol.
We all eat here.
Coming up on the show today,
we have the Assemblywoman that never backs down from a fight, Barbara Buckley, and the senator that's always dressed to the nines, Senator Randolph Townsend.
And plus on the Power Pundit panel today, Marlene, Lockard, Mary Lau, and Bill Uffelman. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers from the state capitol.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Here at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, water resources come from fresh, clean groundwater, approved by state permits. The water is pumped from wells to million-gallon storage tanks and then distributed to TRI companies. Another amenity is our investment in a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant. This disposal system converts waste to clean water for industrial applications. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevada.
Since its creation more than a decade ago, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has focused on three goals: preserving water quality, improving water conservation in Southern Nevada, and meeting the community's current and future water needs. Through thoughtful planning, responsible management, and collaboration, it's succeeding. As we move into the 21st century, the authority continues to embrace sustainable water development and efficient water use. That's our promise to Nevada.
When you need a new employee, how can you be sure who you're really hiring? A background investigation by Employer Links will uncover criminal records, verify the applicant's education, check their credit history and Social Security verification. An investigation will research professional licenses and driver's licenses and let you know why they're unemployed. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
Oh, you bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you, not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they've saved others 50%.
Works for me. Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
This is a special edition of Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're joined by State Senator Randolph Townsend, Chairman of Senate Commerce and Labor. Pleasure to have you here as always. Governor put out a pretty strong ultimatum over the last couple of days that that rebate is going to go through. Do you think it's going to happen, or do you think that we're going to end up in a special session with a fight going on?
I don't think anyone wants to be in a special session. I think the governor is outlined and sold his budget very well. I think most of us feel very strongly that whatever excess that doesn't need to be, plugged in to meet needs, because we have a lot of holes, and whether it's 250 or 275 or 300 million, I think it needs to go back, and I think we can convince most others that that's what we should do.
Now, Senator Washoe had a hearing last night on the budget, trying to get from people ways to reduce spending. Not a big turnout, huh? Are you guys surprised at that?
I was. I thought there'd be a room full of people, certainly in Southern Nevada. Yeah. But he did lay out some rules that most people don't like, which is you got to be specific about the program, you got to say how, you got to say how much, you got to say why, you got to say who's affected. And that's where I think the whole idea of budget reduction breaks down. It's one thing to just come in and say, you need 10% across the board. It's another thing, like in business, when you have to walk up to that person and look them in the eye and say, you're the one that's getting fired, and whoever the people who are getting the services from that person are going to miss out. That's a whole different discussion. I admire my colleagues that came forward. There were, I believe, only two, and they were specific, and they dealt with it, and they put it on the table, and God bless them. That's what this process is about, but they did it well, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Another controversial issue that's been before you in the last couple of days is minimum wage. Where are we heading with that?
Well, as you know, in the North, we had an editorial that was quite different from the editorial in the South. The one in the North talked about removing all the tying to federal mandates or federal issues of increases as well as CPI. Obviously, minimum wage is something that doesn't affect most of us because we don't work at minimum wage levels. But we've looked at it. We're probably going to have a second hearing to make sure that we understand the impacts. Some of the numbers that were thrown out just aren't meshing. I believe very strongly we should do that. I don't think we should abrogate our responsibilities in terms of tagging it to some federal program. This is our job, always has been. We should deal with it because it's different in the rurals than it is in the urban centers. It's different in Nevada than it is in New York. So I think we ought to keep control of it and make those decisions. I'll check with the committee, see what they want to do. I'm sure there's a lot of different opinions on our committee. We have pretty strong people, and they have strong opinions about a lot of things. And this one, I think, is going to probably break down not on party lines, but I think it's going to break down along kind of personal feeling lines, and that ought to be an interesting debate for us.
Yeah, Republicans voted in the Senate, in the Assembly side for this. There were some Republicans that supported it, so it really isn't a bipartisan issue.
And I don't think there's any great joy in knowing that you can go from being a high school kid making a minimum wage to becoming a senior citizen and, again, making minimum wage.
Yeah, no, there's no joy in Mudville, as they say. But I will tell you this, one of the things you see in the minimum wage debate has to do with fast food. And if you talk to any of the guys that have roots in our community that deal with fast food, one of the greatest assets they will tell you is hiring senior citizens because they show up on time, they're always pleasant with the customers, they're very quick studies, they kind of understand life, and so being able to hold on to those folks is really beneficial long term to their business. So hopefully it has a positive effect, whatever the committee ends up doing.
Now, on the business lobbyists are looking at minimum wage as well as health care mandates and some other anti-business approaches, essentially. Now, as chairman of the Commerce Committee, you're dealing with a lot of these anti-business laws, and cumulatively, they have an impact on business. And how are you looking at some of those bills that are coming across in the Assembly?
Well, first of all, you have to understand, I will hear anybody's bill, whether I agree with it or not. It's not my job as chairman to arbitrarily make those decisions. Everyone has a right to come in. This is their process and make their case. I think in some of these cases, things that are aimed directly at business, they just don't make their case when they get there. And you see that because in our case, an awful lot of times, it's a bipartisan rejection of some of these bills. I mean, and if you can't convince at least some of the more liberal members, you just can't get anywhere. And in our case, we take the time, we have the time, in all fairness. They meet 2 days a week, we meet 4.5 days a week, and we get a little more time to investigate those things.
Well, one that does come to mind specifically is this anti-competitive bill that the Frank Lynn distributor wants to come into the Reno Tahoe Industrial Park, and there's actually legislation that is not allowing a company to come in and do exactly what they want to do. How do you feel when the legislature is being used to be essentially anti-competitive?
Yes. Well, that's what the process is about. Everybody gets to come in and make their case, but I think in that case it begs a bigger question, which is where's the future of the three-tiered system for liquor distribution? And I think that question has to be put on the table and has to be debated vigorously, and that's probably what we ought to do this interim, and then come back next time and find out where we are.
And we should point out the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center is one of the sponsors of this program, and we're going to have a debate on this topic coming up on Monday on the program.
Great.
We're out of time. We thank you so much, as always, for being here. We'll welcome you back very soon. Randolph Townsend on Nevada Newsmakers. We'll be right back after this time out.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
If you own a business and want to maximize your company's potential, join the Retail Association of Nevada. Our membership benefits include the Nevada Retail Network Self-Insured Group, providing workers' compensation coverage that can lower your rates. That savings can go directly to your bottom line. We are an effective pro-business organization that lobbies on behalf of our business members. The Retail Association of Nevada, protecting Nevada businesses for 35 years.
minerals we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us cleaner and safer than ever before. To learn more about America's natural resources, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Pepper Mill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Pepper Mill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you dining?
Your best value in sight is here for you to see. From frames to lenses to eye exams, you're covered A to Z. Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
Davis Optical Centers, with 2 locations in Reno and Sparks.
Davis Optical, your best value in sight.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
Back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're joined by the Majority Leader in the Assembly, that's Barbara Buckley, and we welcome you back to the program. Good to have you here in person.
Thank you.
Of course, we have to come down to visit you.
Oh, you know, what do they say about the mountain and Muhammad? And at this time of the session, it's hard to get away.
Yeah. Let me throw this out to you. You know, a week or so ago, Christine Kiliani and Morris Arbery were saying that their constituents weren't really talking about the rebate. They didn't really want the rebate. They didn't care about it, and we should do other things with the money. I was at a Sparks Rotary luncheon yesterday where I was a speaker, and I took an informal poll, and I said to the group, and it's probably about 50 people, I said, how many of you expect to get the rebate? And about 3 hands went up. I said, how many of you want the rebate? Everybody's hand went up. Does that surprise you?
No, who doesn't want free money? I'd like the rebate. I mean, I don't think those numbers surprise me at all. I mean, I think the questions that we're going to deal with is how can we best do some sort of rebate? I think we'll end up doing one. But the question is, how do you structure it? We got some preliminary information from our legal counsel that the average rebate on a car would be something like $40 to $60. It would then be taxable. You'd have to issue people 1099s. You'd have to have a big administrative cost, figuring out who had a car last year, mailing it all out. So I think what the legislature probably is going to end up doing the next week is trying to see, is there a better way to do something?
And at this point, what kind of ideas are floating?
You know, it's really interesting. States have done lots of different things. It's amazing how I really wasn't aware of it till I got the research yesterday about how many options there are. There's, of course, sales tax rebates, sales tax holidays. There's gas rebates. There's property tax rebates. There's crediting systems. States have done lots of different things. So we're analyzing all of those right now to see, you know, what potential there is. It's not to say, you know, the DMV's off the table either. I just think that there's a sense of let's not waste the money in you know, having it be taxable and having a big administrative cost, and let's try to have it be fair. I mean, you know, what's the best way to do that?
Well, speaking of property taxes, you were one of the chief architects of the property tax cap that passed, but it's a short-term fix. What do you see in the long run that is going to be needed to really make sure we don't have escalating taxes like that?
I think it's the same thing. I mean, I think the answer is it's a cap, it's a cap, it's a cap. And I was thrilled that we were able to get a 3% cap for residential. I mean, that's incredibly low. We were able to make the numbers all balanced. We also have a cap on the businesses and put in addition, a new procedure to allow businesses that aren't profitable to get the same break that some of the larger businesses have been getting for years. But, you know, no one without, you know, 4 accountants could figure it out. So I think we came up with a really good package, and I think that those same principles should carry through to the long term.
But that means splitting the roles, and you're going to have a constitutionality issue, aren't you?
Well, the way we did it this time is we did it under the severe economic hardship rubric. The voters approved that. It is constitutional, and that's how we were able to make the separate tax relief. my own
The irony is
personal-
the business part isn't constitutional, but nobody's
Yeah.
going to go and fight it because their taxes would go up dramatically.
Well, then you have 3% versus 8% is hardship. I mean, you've
It's
kind of
just a
defined
beautiful
it
plan,
twice.
isn't it? Yeah. That's
Just
why
work
I
out the
loved it so
details.
much. Well, and I mean, I'm a big believer in. I think the tax rate should be uniform across the state. But when we have a unique situation like we had, where the folks getting socked with the huge increases were the residential, I think it makes sense to be able to target a little bit more relief to them. Not to be able to raise taxes on businesses at a higher rate, but just be able to target our relief to those who need it the most, whether it's a rural county, whether it's a residential homeowner. That's where I think the state needs to go, and I think that's what we ended up with in our package.
And don't we need to put more pressure on the federal government to just release more land so that this whole problem starts to go away?
Yes, but ironically, we have to do it in the right way, because in southern Nevada, at least, with the BLM releasing so much land and with just record prices being obtained for that land, that was one of the 5 or 6 factors listed as one of the reasons why our assessments went up so greatly. So I think that is the answer, but I think we also have to watch how we do it.
Well, it needs to be where we know how much land is going to be released so that it is more than enough to be able to cover that inflationary process. How's the prescription drug bill going?
Well, I have a hearing in the Senate next Thursday, and we'll see how it goes. The pharmaceutical industry is working overtime to try to kill it. I saw them having dinner with one of the senators just last night.
Doesn't surprise you, does it?
No, it really doesn't. The pharmaceutical industry has just spent, so much money trying to defeat this in all of the other 8 states that have gone ahead and enacted the legislation. But when it comes down to it, I think that the legislature will stand up for Nevadans. Why does a Canadian pay $35 for Lipitor and a Nevadan pay $75 for Lipitor? I mean, the #1 drug needed by seniors. It's not right, it's not fair, and it's time we stood up for our citizens.
But the bottom line is it's still against the law according to the federal government.
Well, the 8 other states have felt very comfortable saying that the state's not buying the drugs, individuals are. And the personal use loophole in the FDA says that if you're buying 3 months, you can do it.
But I thought that's only for drugs you cannot get in America.
No,
that's a loophole.
Nope,
That's what the FDA has said, at least.
According to our research, no. They have said any drugs. And so what we're doing is we are saying that if a citizen wants to buy 3 months worth of drugs from Canada at a third of the cost, they have the right to do that. I think the FDA commission
Brief answer, if you could.
said it really well. The decision isn't whether to import or not. People are importing now, and we can do it much more safely under this bill.
Barbara Buckley, thank you so much for being here as always.
Thank you.
We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers. Something spectacular has taken wing not far from Reno or Lake Tahoe, and never far from your mind. An escape of fine dining and legendary golf. Introducing the resort at Red Hawk. And at the center of it all, we've feathered our nest with new villas that have elevated Red Hawk to the status of a premier resort. The Resort at Red Hawk, a beautiful new arrival in northern Nevada.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
I tell you, John, this industry has really changed.
Tell me about it.
You seemed to do pretty well last year. What's your secret?
No secrets. Although I'll tell you something. The smartest thing I did was sign up with Pro Group Management.
Really? Yeah, they do workers' comp, right?
Yeah, their services are great. And get this, they saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
That works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
When you need a new employee, how can you be sure who you're really hiring? A background investigation by Employer Links will uncover criminal records, verify the applicant's education, check their credit history and Social Security verification. An investigation will research professional licenses and driver's licenses and let you know why they're unemployed. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
On Nevada Newsmakers with our Power Pundit panel today, great one as always, Mary Lau, who's the Executive Director of the Retail Association of Nevada, one of our proud sponsors. Pleasure to have you here. Marlene Lockard, barely awake, Capital Strategies, and welcome for the first time to the program, Bill Uffelman, who's the head of the Nevada Bankers Association. Pleasure to have you all here. Let's start out with you, Bill. Alan Feldman was on the program a couple of months ago from MGM Mirage and was adamant that he didn't think that there should be a change in the way that the banks are taxed, even though a lot of other people on this program have said that this should be revised. Where are things sitting at this point?
Well, they're sitting in Senate Finance and House or Assembly Ways and Means, but there are two bills in. One that basically would repeal the branch tax and return the employment or the payroll tax to 0.65 like the rest of the business community, including gaming. And then the other is far more selective, so selective that at best I can tell, 11 branches benefit from a 1% payroll tax and 9 would benefit from the repeal of the $7,000 branch tax.
Okay, where do you think you are at this point?
We're hopeful. We are continuing. In some respects, it's very disappointing when you look how much the purported $833 million tax increase that was passed 2 years ago, in fact, has raised something in excess of $2 billion. It's hard to sit there and say, there's basically $38 million of excess taxation of banks on the table, and you can't pick any of it up.
Well, I mean, we're talking about a rebate. Why don't we just look at our tax system going, well, we've already overtaxed a certain group. We've already picked on the banks, kind of like we're picking on hospitals this year. Why don't we just look at, okay, we've obviously raised too much money. Let's lower the tax. It just makes sense.
Well, some days in the legislative process making sense, getting something done don't make sense.
Do you think we've overtaxed the gaming industry all these years then? Should we take a look and maybe roll back some of they've been a targeted industry that's been taxed and singled out.
But they're a privileged industry. They're a privileged industry. I've suggested that perhaps we could convert a certain number of ATMs into slot machines that, you ask for $20, you might get 40, you might get nothing.
Yeah, they're not. I don't think they've been overtaxed, Marlene, because typically in Nevada they pay less than they do in other states. Should they get off the tax structure that they have? That's entirely up to them. Right. They open up every single place that they open up. They offer people the share of their gross revenue. That is their style of taxation. That's fine. But I'm adamantly opposed to any industry paying something that the other industries don't pay. I was adamantly opposed for the banks to be taxed separately last time, and we are very much an advocate for them coming to the same level as the business industry. And if gaming wants to revamp theirs, go for it.
One other comment that Mr. Feldman made on the program was that he said that banks make as much money as gaming does in the state of Nevada.
Knowing to some extent, because it's public information that you can go on the FDIC website and see exactly how the banks are performing, I have difficulty with that equation. As best I can tell, banks are not making as much, quote unquote, as gaming is.
But they have had a phenomenal 2 years. Record earnings every day in the paper from a bank.
But if you look at the Nevada economy in general, every business, or the bulk of it, I shouldn't say every, but we've had a record economy, whether it's construction, whether it's everything is doing well.
What is it, fiscal punishment for doing good? I mean,
no,
the hospitals are
I think we have to take a look, as you said, at the tax structure, and that's not what happened last session. But there should be some fairness. I don't think any industry should be singled out. I think there should be some fairness across the board, and we don't have that today. We do not.
You have it if you bring the banks into parity.
Perhaps it says that all business, gaming, mining, banks, everybody, we need to sit down and decide that as businessmen, the people who employ people in this state other than government, in effect, what should the Nevada budget be? How much should be supported by tax revenues? And what kind of tax revenues should provide that support? And then, in effect, come back to the legislature as a group, as opposed to this bifurcated, trifurcated system that we've got. Yeah.
Sooner or later, it's got to stop escalating.
Well, and government has to stop punishing businesses for making money.
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm watching Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged book come to life, where the government says, you're making money, so you must be doing something wrong. We have to stop that.
I agree.
There is this anti-business. I mean, Senator Townsend said it, 30 bills in his committee that he considers anti-business.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just this growing trend coming out of the Assembly that you're making money, so you must be doing something wrong.
Well, I talked to somebody today that had a business in Gardnerville, and they deliberately dummied down. They went down, down, down. They kept laying off people, and now he works for himself because it was so difficult to have a business and have employees and jump through all the hoops that he just decided he gradually started laying people off, and now he has himself.
Yeah. And you're looking
Success.
at that trend. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
you regulated and taxed him now he has his own job.
Yeah. And you've unemployed people.
And so many of the bank taxes, as taxes on banks, it's related to employment. Obviously, the payroll tax is kind of an income tax with cut out the middleman. Just take it straight from the business. Don't bother trying to collect from the employee. And the branch tax. So if I open a branch to serve the community, there's a penalty for doing that. Credit unions don't pay that. Credit unions are exempt.
Yeah. And I'll go with Marlene when you were saying, with government and stuff, you do have services that you have to pay. And if business and government can get together, maybe government can get smarter too, get technologically smarter. You fought that for years.
Absolutely.
And that saves money. And poor Sam, you've lost your show.
Right. Did you
We're out of time. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers from the legislature.
And I'm
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe-Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Here at the Tahoe-Reno Industrial Center, we focus on attracting high-tech companies to Northern Nevada. One vital amenity provided to companies at TRI is a connection to a complete digital fiber network. This gives the ability of unlimited bandwidth and voice services to every business. And what's charged for the installation of this valuable asset? Nothing. Zero. Nada. And that's a pretty good deal. Welcome to the Tahoe-Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
If you own a business and want to maximize your company's potential, join the Retail Association of Nevada. Our membership benefits include the Nevada Retail Network Self-Insured Group, providing workers' compensation coverage that can lower your rates. That savings can go directly to your bottom line. We are an effective pro-business organization that lobbies on behalf of our business members. The Retail Association of Nevada, protecting Nevada businesses for 35 years.
And we'll continue to be here at the state legislature all the way through the end of the session here on Nevada Newsmakers. Randy, who's coming up next week?
Oh, we've got the Lieutenant Governor, Lorraine Hunt. We've got Carol Villardo, who explained the taxes. And we've got a great debate between Scott Craigie and Alfredo Alonso.
It's all coming up next week on Nevada Newsmakers. Thanks for watching.